how do you fulfill that promise? Because ultimately expectations have to be met. If you look at the political landscape, is it really changing for women? And what is the inability of the forces that dead bodies surface, but not the living people?
Why is the state not looking at putting an embargo on that?
As a Telangana person, I will not accept.
How do ordinary folks deal with this?
Hello and welcome. You're watching News9 Live. It's a special broadcast on a very special event that's just set to kick off in just a few days' time from now. The countdown has begun. In less than a week's time, the News9 Global Summit will open in Stuttgart in Germany. A special, groundbreaking initiative that is offering a platform that can redefine the future of India-Germany relations. Hosted by the TV9 Network, India's largest news network, and co-hosted by Bundesliga's VfB Stuttgart. This summit will take place from the 21st of November till the 23rd at the heart of innovation in Germany, Stuttgart, the home of Mercedes. Supported by the state of Baden-Württemberg, this summit brings together leaders, innovators, policymakers across walks of life to chart a roadmap for growth for both these nations, the world's oldest democracy and Europe's strongest, biggest economy. So how can India and Germany collaborate to achieve sustainable growth, and what insights can people at the summit, the very special people who are attending this summit, can say at the summit? Stay tuned. We will be taking you through what you can expect from a first of its kind landmark event, the News9 Global Summit. That's right, the News9 Global Summit bringing together influential, the who's who leaders from India and Germany across politics, business, sports and entertainment at Stuttgart City's iconic MHP Arena for 3 days of some transformative dialogues. It's an exceedingly impressive lineup. Two of India's senior ministers, Mr. Ashwini Vaishnav, Union Minister of Information and Broadcasting, Railways and MeitY, along with Mr. Jyotiraditya Scindia, Union Minister of Communications and Development of Northeast Region. Both of them will be there attending the News9 Global Summit in person. And the true highlight of the summit will be the keynote address delivered virtually by none other than the Honorable Prime Minister of India, Shri Narendra Modi, who has graciously accepted our invitation. So it is Namaste Germany, Guten Tag India. It's before we go any further, let's listen to some of those welcoming notes brought to us by our partners. One from the Minister President of the state of Baden-Württemberg, Mr. Winfried Kretschmann. Let's also listen to Mr. Florian Hassler, who is the State Secretary for Political Coordination and Europe at Baden-Württemberg.
Germany and India are important partners. As Minister President of Baden-Württemberg, I am happy to support the News9 Global Summit in Stuttgart. I hope you can join us.
Namaste, India. Germany is working towards strengthening bilateral trade with India. The state of Baden-Württemberg is particularly excited to support the News9 Global Summit in Stuttgart. State of Innovation makes the next big idea for collaboration. Together, we will draw a roadmap for sustainable growth. So please join us and make News9 Global Summit a resounding success.
That's right, but before we go any further, it's important to understand this visionary initiative by the TV9 Network from the mind of the man who leads the network, the MD and CEO, Mr. Barun Das. Let's listen to him.
It's a global summit which is definitely, as you said, one of its kind, the first of its kind. This is an offtake from what we did in India, which is for the first time for an India media company. We have taken our flagship summit, annual summit, to a global level. So that is the beginning, and I think if I remember it correctly, it was attended by dignitaries, delegates from over 50 countries in Delhi itself.
Right. This is the What India Thinks Today, landmark TV9 event that we're talking about, which happened in the month of
which happened in the month of March, which was the chief guest, or the summit keynote was delivered by none other than the Prime Minister himself. Now, so that was the beginning of it. And now, as you know, we live in a boundaryless world. Anything that happens anywhere, especially in India, it creates a ripple in the world, both in geopolitics and geo-trade. So anything, any large initiative today will have to look at the world as its audience. So we thought that since we started this global summit here in India, it was a humble beginning. So we take it to the next level, and I think it's a next big level where we're doing this News9 Global Summit in Stuttgart, and I'm happy that we have been supported. The co-host is VFB Stuttgart. My friend Ruben would be there. And it is supported by the state of Baden-Württemberg, Mr. Kretschmann himself, who's Minister President. So that's the summit all about. And we would have an array of various kinds of discussion over 2 days. The whole event culminates with beyond discussion, which normally you get to see in corporate summits like this. So we have an award function there where we are honoring a few global icon who's made global impact coming from India.
Right, and to help us all understand what the News9 Global Summit is all about even better, I have a couple of special gentlemen joining me in the studio. We have Mr. Rakesh Kar, editor of News9 Media Wares, and Mr. Karthik Malhotra, executive editor of News9 with us. Thank you so much for taking time out, Rakesh ji. Let me begin with you. At this stage, it's a very simple question. India, the economy that it is, the booming economy that it is, and Germany, the largest economy in Europe. At this stage, when everybody is looking to cut down their dependence on China, including Germany, India offers the perfect alternative, which we saw when Mr. Olaf Scholz, the Chancellor of Germany, came to India just a few days ago. In that sense, News9 Global Summit fits in perfectly as part of the larger narrative of India holding hands with some of the biggest economic powers in the world.
Absolutely, Krishna. As I call it, the summit of summits, the magnum opus unveils itself on November 21st, just a few days left now. So this enormous collaboration has an enormous context. So let me lay out the context briefly for you. First and foremost, Germany had unveiled a program for China called Focus on China in 2023. But from all independent estimates, they haven't really followed up on that in the way it was expected. And then suddenly comes Focus on India, the main policy document that has been unveiled by the government of Germany, drawing enormous importance for India as a country, as a partner. And then we saw the visit of the German Chancellor month end in October, and the joint declaration that was signed is extremely comprehensive. And as Prime Minister Modi said, that this is triple celebration of the relationship between the two countries, two great democracies, two great economies, as you rightly pointed out. So this summit is the fourth celebration of this entire relationship, which is going and getting stronger by the day.
Okay. Karthik, you've been a key part of, putting this global summit together. Talk to us, look at the names over there of the key speakers, some of the biggest names possible, from senior ministers from India to senior government representatives from Germany as well.
Absolutely, Krishna, and I think it's not just restricted to senior government representation from both the countries, but we're also looking at big corporate leaders from both the countries converging over meaningful dialogues over the course of 2 days from the 21st and the 22nd of November. And then, of course, we should look at some of them also watching the Bochum versus VfB Stuttgart match, in Germany, in Stuttgart on the 23rd of November. But I think adding to what Mr. Khar just mentioned, and to take that conversation forward, I think India is a consumption market of 1.4 billion people, and we are the most populous country anywhere in the world. And the whole idea of any company wanting to do business anywhere in the world would be ignoring India at their own risk. So at one point, you are looking at a large consumer market. At the same time, you're also looking at a large mass of youth which can find meaningful employment not just within India but even offshore in countries like Germany. Now, of course, you spoke about China, and in this whole narrative of China plus one, the big question always is that which country is going to be the plus one? And is that country going to be India? We've had conversations. In fact, some of our speakers, Mr. Rahul Munjal, I was speaking to him the other day, in one of our conversations in the run-up to the event. And he also mentioned that, there are countries like Vietnam which have outlived their utility, and they have peaked out as far as manufacturing moving from China to that country is concerned. And India obviously offers that great opportunity for technologically advanced and engineeringly strong companies like the Mercedes-Benz, like Porsche, like Audi, BMW in the auto space, and many other multinationals like Siemens or any of the green tech companies to actually look at India as a potent investment market. And when you talk about investment, you're also creating employment. You're contributing to the Indian economy, but at the same time, you're also optimally able to channelize and rationalize your own cost when it comes to manufacturing anywhere else in the world. So I think India offers that perfect window of consumption, a great workforce available to be skilled, partly skilled already. Those skills could be furthered on, and thereafter, of course, a happy win-win situation for everyone.
Right.
If I may add, apart from the economic perspective which Karthi very well laid out, there is enormous possibilities there. But most importantly, Germany and India aligned together, both from the political, the geopolitical and the geo-economic perspective. So as two great democracies, they are, working together very closely towards a new international rule-based order. So we know there are wars going on either side of the, global sphere. So both are addressed themselves as partners in trying to create a peaceful, durable, growth-oriented environment for the world.
Right. The foundations are all there for a great relationship, but you need events like the News9 Global Summit to sort of, reiterate the point, awaken some of those lost aspirations perhaps over the years. It's time now to take this relationship, this India-Germany relationship to the next level, and that's where the News9 Global Summit, an event like, a landmark event like News9 Global Summit comes in, isn't it?
Absolutely, to sustain the momentum and give it a new direction and, keep the trajectory really growing in the right direction. So in that sense, 3 days, is not just 3 days. It's setting the roadmap for creating that big ticket momentum going forward.
Right, and talking about that roadmap at that summit, Karthik talked to us. It's 2 days, and it's going to be a culmination eventually in a football match. It's a sporting event as well. Apart from many other things that it is, bringing together some of the senior government representatives to top corporate voices, to faces from the world of entertainment, and there is going to be a unique opera shows, Indian opera shows. Talk to us about all that's lined up for this event, Karthik.
Right. So, I wouldn't really want to let out a lot of information right now, because I think we would be streaming the event live for all our viewers to watch as we bring it live from Stuttgart.
Right here on News9 Live.
Yeah, but I think just as a teaser, you mentioned everything that you did, Krishna. So we are definitely starting with sports. We are talking about the India consumer story, Srinagar to Stuttgart, how the consumer and Gen Z being the largest chunk of that consumer here in India, how the consumer story, which may seem very different, when you look at it through the Western prism and when you look at it from a developing economy prism, but at the end of the day, we realize how similar the consumer is in this interconnected world globally. So you're talking about the consumer story, you're talking about the power of soft power, and that is where sports and entertainment come together. Now, we are a country that lives and breathes cricket, and cricket is pretty much religion for us. Germany is a country that lives and breathes football. So can there be a convergence when we try to bring or imbibe the best practices of football? And football, I believe, is the 5th most watched and played sport in India. Can it go up in the pecking order to number 4, number 3 eventually? So that is as far as day 1 of the summit is concerned. Day 2, we are actually kicking off day 2, the proceedings with Mr. Cem Özdemir. Mr. Cem Özdemir is the Minister for Environment and Agriculture at Germany. He's a federal minister. So he's going to open proceedings for the 2nd day, and we really want to go big on sustainability, and in fact roadmap to sustainable growth has the word sustainable there for a reason. That today, in the context of business, in the context of politics, in the context of economic growth, you cannot ignore green. You cannot ignore sustainability. So Mr. Cem Özdemir opens day 2 and the session on green and sustainability. From there on, we move on into a panel discussion, which becomes actually, very interesting in the context of COP29, which is on right now, where there is a view of the developed world and there is a view of the developing world. And Finance COP, as we are seeing it play out, is putting the target of financing climate change as much on developing economies and not taking up the onus of funding climate change and and offsetting the ills of climate change by themselves. So climate green tech becomes a critical part of day 2, which is the 22nd of November.
Karthik, this incidentally forms a part of the intergovernmental consultation paper which was signed on October 25th when the Chancellor
India
was there.
and Germany.
That's
You're right. And then, of course, we move on to to more India-centric issues like artificial intelligence, and a lot of Indian techies continue to live in Germany. You have companies like HCL Tech, Tech Mahindra, Infosys, Wipro. All of them have a large workforce resident in Germany. But we've seen over the course of the last 2 years almost now, ever since ChatGPT came in Jan 2023 and created AI waves across the world, I think Indian IT is right now at this critical juncture where it has to repeat its success of IT services, which made it, the envy of the world and really brought in dollar income coming into India. That success has to be replicated in the context of AI.
Time for more euro revenue to come in.
So absolutely. So dollar revenue, euro revenue to come in. So AI becomes a central theme. And then, of course, we move into the central ministers, the cabinet ministers from India, all of that culminating with the speech of Prime Minister Modi. And then, of course, Krishna, and that is where you come in. I think there are some fascinating awards, luminaries from the world of business and outside of business that get awarded at the Global Icon Awards. Stuttgart being the city of innovation, Stuttgart being the city where Mercedes-Benz was born and continues to run its factories. We thought the summit would be incomplete without honoring the auto leaders from India in the hub of innovation, which is called Stuttgart. And then, of course, you have a solo concert, and this is on the life of Gohar Jan. And that is going to be a 30-minute solo performance, a solo concert, a musical which takes Indian history, Indian heritage, Indian culture again out there for the globe to appreciate.
Right, so Karthik there giving
Krishna,
us...
in fact, the diversity part that Karthik laid out so well, and once you are there, you will see the diversity at its peak. The most important point to my mind is the high point is, of course, the Prime Minister's address, which is a keynote on the theme of India inside the global bright spot. That's the bright spot that India is in the world scenario. The second most important point to my mind is the interministerial. For a news media platform to go global and then go global with official representation from two very senior ministers from India who drive economic policy making in the country, and two very senior ministers, one from the Green Corridor, if I can call it, in Germany. So in that sense, for a news media platform to aggregate thought leaders at this mega thought fest with ministerial representation and the Prime Minister of this country, endorsing, in that sense, it's a really a leap up, massive scaling up in terms of the summit of summits.
Right, can't get better than that when it comes to endorsement straight from the Prime Minister himself. In fact, let's now get you in a voice from our co-host, the summit's co-host, VFB Stuttgart's board member and Chief Marketing and Sales Officer, Ruben Kasper. In fact, Karthik just had a chat with him earlier about soft power and how this summits like these play an instrumental role in forging that people-to-people connect. Listen in.
Ruben Kasper, help us understand the power of soft power and the power of people-to-people connect, which forums and platforms like these eventually offer to forge ties even further beyond the stated business objectives.
Thanks, Karthik. At the end, everything is about the people. We are a football club existing because of the people and for the people. And this is very easy to say. And when we talk about football, this joyful game, also cricket, is done by the people and for the people. So we are not just a football club. We are a platform. We are in the capital of the wonderful province of Baden-Württemberg. And we are the biggest business platform and the strongest economical powerhouse here in Europe. And it is beyond football to bring people together for global interests, for politics, for economy, and talk about different things, not just Industry 4.0 or digital transformation, which is needed, but bring this on a very soft platform, which is always sports, it's always culture, bringing the people together in a wonderful surrounding where they can also chat a little bit about other things, but at the end discuss topics which are relevant for everybody, and you asked Barun earlier what he's looking for, which kind of panels. And when I look at the panels with artificial intelligence or sustainable growth or everything, these are topics we need to discuss in a very open dialogue. And this is what we do as a football club. We bring people together. And as you see from politics, from business and everything, this is our task. And doing this in a cricket stadium or a football stadium, having this surrounding makes it even more positive than it is in general.
Well, sport can produce some of the most significant moments in human life, and in this case, Karthik and Rakeshji, both, I have to ask you this, it's interesting that like a partnership of this scale between two countries and a partnership like this between the TV9 Network and VFB Stuttgart all hinges upon a sport, and that sort of tells you, where things begin. All of this doesn't have to happen only inside boardrooms and, corner rooms, isn't it?
You put it very succinctly. Generally there is a certain perspective about summits. It's a mega ticket darbar halls of the world, and then there are big ticket corporate guys, they address issues which are important, but it rarely goes beyond. In this case, it's a significant departure from the traditional summits which all of us have done, right? Because we made a 360-degree view of issues where people-to-people relationships are concerned. So in that sense, sports, entertainment, actual sporting activity there on the third day of the summit really make it, these are the typical USPs that are identified with this News9 Global Summit.
Right, how many summits have a Bundesliga, if that culminates in a Bundesliga match between one of the biggest teams in the German league, that is VfB Stuttgart?
Absolutely, Krishna. I think, and hence we say that this is a one of its kind event, and not overtly promoting the event, but I think there is absolute merit in examining the fact that at the end of the day, you've got to get people together. You've got to get people together to appreciate values, culture, and appreciate where you're coming from and what you're bringing to the table. And I think all of that can happen only when people bond at a more humane level and when they interact with each other in a slightly less formal setting, and which is what the match and which is what the awards and the solo concert offer at this event. And beyond that, of course, business will continue to flourish. Business will, at the end of the day, try and find value, whether it is a certain geography or a certain target that, a target audience that business wants to derive. But beyond that, I think the value of people-to-people connect is something which this summit of summits, as Rakeshji pointed out, is something that we are trying to build here.
The summit of summits, the News9 Global Summit, will kick off on the 21st of November. The countdown has begun. And with that, we're out of time on this special broadcast. Thank you so much for watching. This is Krishna Kumar signing off.
The next Indian icons, beating everyone on the globe. A new perspective awaits. B6E and XEV9E. Mahindra's electric origin SUVs. Catch them at Unlimit India.
Why is the state not looking at putting an embargo on that?
As a Telangana person, I will not accept.
How do ordinary folks deal with this?
Cooking is an act of love. The first act of love we receive from our mothers in the families.
Modern Indian food is all about contemporary and innovative approach to traditional Indian cooking.
Representation, it's also important,
I want to wear this white coat every day and then be a chef.
There are stories. If the name of whiskey is engraved, then there is a whole story behind that.
Cooking food is like a therapy, and eating one is like a pleasure I can give it to myself. With Lounge Nights, I'm on a journey to celebrate and recognize the best food and nightlife establishments in various cities across India.
Radical presents Lounge Nights every Saturday and Sunday only on News9 Live.